Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith, and today I am talking about Dungeons and Dragons Ravenloft, Heir of Strahd by Delilah S. Dawson. Love that cover. Love that back cover. If you can read that, that's the publisher. Not going to read the inside flap for this because the nutshell is very simple. You have five strangers strangers to each other, who wake up in the middle of a mist surrounded clearing with no idea how they got there. They soon discover they are in the land of Barovia, I believe it's called, and are headed towards Castle Ravenloft and their host, Strahd Vaughn. What's his full name? Oh no. Strahd von Zarovich. And things happen. That's your nutshell. So for the too long didn't watch, folks, I gave this 4 out of 5. I really liked it. This is Dungeons and Dragons horror. And if you heard that cat meow, that's just my notifications noise on my phone, which startles so many people. But anyway, 4 out of 5 stars, Dungeons and Dragons horror. I really liked this. So, first of all, as I start reading it, I can feel a game master or a dungeon master telling this story, setting us up for the adventure to come. I can literally imagine the game master sitting there and saying, "You all simply you wake up in a clearing. You are strangers to each other. You are surrounded. The clearing is surrounded by a fog that is a strange color. You've never seen fog this color before. If you had to describe it, for some reason, the word sickly comes to mind for this fog. And as you become aware of your surroundings, you can barely glimpse trees through the fog. There does seem to be a clear path. And down this path, you see a ramshackle building. But first, you introduce yourself to your companions. And so, who are you? Tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself to these other strangers. And then the player would, carry on. So, very, very much has that Dungeons and Dragons role playing game feel. So, our characters, let's see. We have, see if I can remember this correctly. We have the Drow Cheverion, however you say his name, and this is his Tressum, whose name is Murder. And then we have, I'm going to go over here. We have, I believe she's just a human. This is Fael. That's how I'm pronouncing it in my head. And this is oh goodness, what is her race? Kenku, named Ka, K-A-H. This is an orc. His name is Rotrog. Yes, Rotrog. And now we have a tiefling right there. And this is the name that bothered me the entire time. I looked up online how to pronounce it, and I was given 2 pronunciations. Don't know if either's actually correct. And my brain just kept going between the 2 of them. But Alishai or Alishai were the 2 pronunciations I was given. Alishai or Alishai. Most of the time, my brain was saying Alishai, but sometimes it would even be like Alicia. No, that's not what it is. Anyway, these are our 5 characters. They've woken up, and after some craziness, they end up in Castle Ravenloft, guests of Strahd. But this is definitely Dungeons and Dragons adventure set in the Ravenloft world, which is a horror setting. I don't know if I'm giving anything away when I tell you that Strahd here is a vampire. um, and this book contains there's werewolves and zombies and all sorts of other weird creatures. And there are now I'm not by no means a Dungeons and Dragons expert. I played it a little bit when it originally came out. I had first edition Red Box when it came out, played a bit, and then just couldn't find people to play with. I've seen the Chris Pine movie, which I enjoyed very much, but I never saw the cartoon. I don't know if I was in the Air Force when it was out, or in college, or what I was doing, but I never got to see the cartoon. Excuse me. So, and there's a bunch, relatively speaking, a bunch of Ravenloft novels from back in the day, very hard to find. At least like at the local bookstore, the half price books or anything. And online, they're relatively expensive. So I'm not, at this point, not dropping the money on those. I'd like to have them, though, because again, Dungeons and Dragons and horror. So, not an expert, but I looked it up. I looked up like the Ravenloft setting online, and there are different modules in the game that would focus on different areas and different characters. And so I'm trying to avoid spoilers with all this. There are a number of characters from the different D&D Ravenloft modules in the book. Actually, I will show if you huge Ravenloft people should recognize this character. I didn't know who it was until, well, reading the book and looking it up. But yeah, it's very well written. The characters are all very distinct. They all have, their own powers. You can see the D&D gameplay a little bit in how one of the characters might cast a spell, and in the game, generally speaking, again, not an expert, but like you can cast this spell once per day. And you can cast this spell, maybe you can cast this spell twice per day. Maybe this spell takes even once every 2 days. I don't know all the spells. But you can see that where a character will use a spell and then they're sort of depleted and can't do it again immediately. And I think all of them have some bit of magic, but you have, some characters that are more straight up fighters. They all have very distinct personalities, and they all have secrets, which are eventually going to come out, but it feels natural in the way that the character stories are told. And I don't think you have to be a Dungeons and Dragons fan to enjoy this. You could just look at this as just a fantasy horror novel without vast knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons, because again, I don't have vast knowledge, but I do have a decent base, I think. But great characters, very interesting story, although we've seen this sort of a certain motivation for a certain character is something that has been done before in horror novels. I don't know about fantasy novels and stuff, but definitely in horror novels, it's a thing we've seen before. But it's just so well done. Delilah S. Dawson is a great writer, does all sorts of different stuff. I mean, if you look at her biography, she's done Star Wars stuff, and she's done horror, I'm pretty sure. And she has I think it's a comedy fantasy series that she's co-written with someone. Blame It on the Farm Boy is the first one. Let me see. So it looks like 4 Star Wars novels, some Minecraft Mod Squad stuff. The Tales of Pell with Kevin Hearn, Kill the Farm Boy is the first one. Standalone novels, yeah, Bloom, Guillotine. I believe those are both horror. I'm not going to name everything, but she's a great author, and I would love to see her or someone else doing more Ravenloft stuff. This is pretty new. Pretty sure it's this year. And yes, definitely 2005. First edition. I'm just looking to see if I can see a month, but a quick perusal didn't jump out at me. But when I was looking at this on Amazon, I already knew there were novels based in the world of the Chris Pine book, but there also seemed to be other original novels just based in different, again, modules of Dungeons and Dragons. Anyway, all of this is to say 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked this book. I loved the characters and the horror of it all. There's one of my favorite horror subgenres or trope. I guess it depends on how you're going to look at it. I don't want to spoil it, but that's in here. I loved it. It was nice and creepy. So, Dungeons and Dragons, Ravenloft, Heir of Strahd, by Delilah S. Dawson. If you're interested in just a fantasy horror, I say check it out. You don't need to know Dungeons and Dragons. But that will add to the experience if you do. And that's that. That's a weird way for me to end that. Question for the video. Dungeons and Dragons. Have you played? If you haven't, does it interest you? Or is it just nerd stuff? Let's just talk Dungeons and Dragons. As I said earlier, I had, when the first red box came out, I was all over that and played it with some people in the neighborhood, but that didn't last long. We all had our lives and everything. And then after that, college didn't have anybody to play with, plus busy with college and a job. And then in the Air Force, I didn't have anybody to play with. Life kind of gets in the way. I would love to find, and now I'm just a curmudgeon and don't always get along with people, but I would love to find a group to play with somebody else running it. I've tried playing it sort of improv with my nephew, a couple of nephews, or my nephew and niece-in-law. I don't remember who all was there, but I was basically just making it up as I went along, which was fun, but I would like to just be a character, have somebody else running the show. But I'm a fan. I've read some Dungeons & Dragons books other than this. I have the latest edition of the board game Horrified is a Dungeons & Dragons edition, and I really like that. It's I think my second favorite version of Horrified, simply because of some of the Dungeons & Dragons trappings in it. I loved the Chris Pine movie. There are Dungeons & Dragons board games that I would like to play. So instead of having to do the whole role-playing thing with a game master, I believe they're modular games, which means you have tiles of rooms that you're going to put out instead of just unfolding a board. And I believe they're scenario-driven. You make your character very quickly, and you have cards that tell you all your information, what your weapons are and everything. So I don't know that you have to have a sheet where you're writing everything down. And then you're actually moving your pieces through this modular board, encountering things. I'd like to try some of those. So yeah, big fan. Well, maybe I shouldn't say big fan. I'm a fan. But what about you? Have you ever played? Has it ever interested you? Are you not interested? Oh, I have a book. I read it a long time ago. Finally just got a copy recently about Dungeons and Dragons being satanic. Love that stuff too. I'm very amused by these books that take something like this and in a completely serious way tell you all the ways you're going to hell if you're playing this game. So anyway, yes. What about you? All things Dungeons and Dragons, let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, I'll have links for my Instagram and Blue Sky in the description below. And that's all I've got. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith, and until next time, read more books.